Ta-da! And welcome to Joseph's Model Railway and Toy Room. Thank you, as always, for joining me. Just a little bit of housekeeping. You don't need to like, follow, or subscribe to any of the videos I put out there. Just put them out there where I can, and I have the holly jolly greatest time in doing so. Today's video, we return to part 2 in our series of our Smith's Chips factory. Basically, you saw construction underway of the landscaping as we've selected this tremendous pre-built salt factory that we have personalized and added a little magic to turn it into part of the Smith's Chips or Smith's Crisps potato chip family, depending on what side of the planet you are on. So today we get back to it and we finally sort of unveil where it is with its landscaping, and we're going to switch it on in its home. Now, we aren't done here exactly, because as we keep on talking about, we still need to create a back scene around the entire layout. And that's where we're going to fine tune some of the key trees and things that'll completely blend so many of the videos you've seen into place. So we're always going to keep returning back as we keep developing. We're also about to embark on a series that talks about the back scene of the petroleum depot. And what you probably can't quite see on the camera here is just where we obviously have the return track coming back, creating a little bit of segregation there on what the scene would be. Now, it's a little bit complicated, and we'll talk about that in a future video. And the only reason I'm going to mention that now is because if you're wondering why I'm sort of cutting some of the angles how I do, that's because we're developing that scene. So as I'm sort of looking at, as those sections are completing now, I'm getting a bit more of a better understanding of the landscape, and it looks fantastic. Of course, in the meantime though, let's get back to part 2. We're actually going to have the building in and the way it should be, so let's get stuck into it, shall we? Chips, paying homage to the Ruffles potato chips and the rope at the back, which is a childhood story of mine. I always had something else in mind, and that was for the Smith's Chips potato factory. And
This looks like it could be a winner. It's even pre-lit. Let's get one in.
I really think we've got a little something special here. Well, girls and boys, ladies and gentlemen, yes, that does bring us to the end of this video, of this part 1. Not sure how good that's going to come up on the camera, but we've been using just some white grout. Apart from that, with some of the sand we picked up for the coastal area. This is that beach type of sand. I picked this up from Toodles at the side of the road. And just a little bit of just our fine grey mixed ballast from Woodland Scenics, just to give that stonework. Now, don't worry too much about this. This is just to give that base layer so that can sit in and will landscape around it. But you can see as it's been deposited, this line is being used for picking up and taking the finished product out, which may continue further on down the line that we can't see from the factory. But this is obviously also where the line comes in to deliver salt and things like that. And that's that sort of deposit. Now, from the angle you're looking at, it might not look great, but from where I'm standing, this is pretty much what I was trying to achieve, and I'm quite happy with this. So we're going to just give this the base wet water and then lock it down with a bit of scenic cement, and we can take the tape off, get the building into place, and then we can work around that. I'm going to give that an hour or so before we start to lift the tape off. And we'll leave that to dry overnight. May not look so good from where you are at the moment, but it's dried up well, and looking here, the texture is pretty much what I need. And again, we're going to tidy it up as we do the rest of the area, but as a nice base coat at the moment, this is exactly what I need. But the ultimate test, will it fit? Now, isn't it a shame we don't get to see all this? I mean, it's not like it's a very impressive tree here, but I guess just that ductwork and that tank were kind of a nifty little thing to see, but well, at least you get to see it now. But let's drop it into place. That looks very good. So we can still come back a bit with this, but until we do the rest of the scene, we're not going to get too concerned about that just yet. But that really looks fantastic.
Okay, this is looking very good. We're just going to create a little slipway or a roadway with this scrap bit of balsa wood that I've sort of bent into shape. Yeah, it's not very realistic. It's far too steep, but it'll give a good illusion. Just hit record now, even if I'm not ready. Don't want to miss more footage on this one. And of course the time lapse won't allow me to zoom any further, so you're gonna have to bear with me on this one. Let's create a bit of a fence here. I actually wanted something a little bit lower here. However, it's what we've got available at the time, and a picket fence really wasn't doing the job for me. So this looks all right. The good thing about drilling down directly into our ply as opposed to using the foam board is we don't actually have to do any glue. We can just set the fence straight into position in case we need to take it out or whatever else. So I think that looks pretty good to me. It's good clearance, looks great. I think we'll still just a light wash over it. This is of course the Woodland Scenics chain link fencing kit. And if you can probably see in the picture, they've already added a little bit of the paint and detail required. So and being that this is in the far distance, I think this will probably work out okay for us. And a little bit of a tidy up here as we've sort of loosely laid our ballast down. And while we can't see a lot going on toward the other side of the camera, basically we're just cleaning up a little bit of the ground and getting that fence in the right position. So a quick tickle with our vacuum cleaner now. We come along for the second layer of ballast just to fill in the gaps we may have missed if the glue beaded or something like that. So at this point we've just got our fence into position, and we are going to carry on now with creating our signs. So just a little bit of PVA glue here, just cut a bit of the evergreen. This is the I-beam type of stuff that I've sprayed with galvanized spray, and then just we're using a little bit of PVA to sort of sit these frames for the signage in place, just using a peg and a bit of foam. Went a little bit crazy there with the glue, but this is sort of something we're not seeing a lot of, and it's not too bad once it's dried cleared, so I'm not going to lose any sleep. A little bit of foam with that peg so it's sitting in the right angle. And of course, we're actually just taking the traditional Vallejo. We're just using the light wash, and if you just pay attention, and it's not really a comparison of the before and after, but I think you can quite clearly see we now just knock a bit of the sheen off of a nice brand new building and just give it a bit of texture that looks like it's been getting a bit of weathering and has at least been there for the best part of 10 years or thereabouts. The little scrap bit that we're doing with our little slipway road, you can see how we're going to integrate that at the moment and drop our wires into place, and here we are. I'm just going to come in now just for a minute just to point out. So what I did, I actually purchased one of these right angle plugs for it, and you can see by using it as opposed to the existing plug, it means that I can now just sort of use this area a bit more for the roadway. So a little plug here for less than $1, I think, is a wise investment. Well, let's carry on now. So just some quick finishing touches as we drop the wire down for the truck and get it into place. We'll plant a tree, just one at the moment. We'll come back to that later. A few little tufts of grass here and there, and just a few bushes we'll put around. We're just going to use the Gorilla Quick Set Gel so it can sort of hang on to the edge of the road, so it gives the illusion there's a little more road space there. Well, that's where we're going to leave that one for now. You can see we still need to sort some trees and stuff to do with that back scene up, but for the minute, this is pretty much where it's going to be. The switch is still accessible, and again, the great stuff about this stuff is you can just lift it in and take it out, place it where you need it. So it's not really a forever thing at the moment, but it'll do for now. We can still move our truck and turn it around so we can get the interest based on where you want it. But pretty much that's where we're going to leave that one for the moment as we get on to some other projects. Well, girls and boys, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of the video. This one has been a little bit epic. Not for the most part that the item has been with me for nearly a year, but the final finishing touch I needed, which was the 90-degree 4.5 volt power plug that I needed to set into the building so I could still use some of that roadway, which I ordered and was only coming a mere 200 kilometers down the road from me, took 1 month and took a 2,400 kilometer journey just to get here. And I thought that was rather astonishing. Needless to say, it arrived, a quick solder, we've put it into place and everything is good. And clearly, as you can see by the final shots, I couldn't be happier with how all of this has turned out. And as you can see, the beads of sweat forming on my face, we are entering the summertime. It's nearly time to get the HVAC running in this house now. But for the meantime, that's now going to do it. And you'll keep seeing bits and pieces of this as we now take you into the following videos that discuss that's just in front of the salt factory, the actual backdrop behind what separates the petroleum depot and the return line loop, and then entering onto the Smith's potato chip operation. But as always, that will do it for us today. Thank you so much, as always, for joining me. I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Please do stay safe. Toodles!